Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Horror Mine, where we talk about mysteries, thrillers, and horror movies. My name is Vic Shai, and we are one step closer to finishing our journey into the cursed world of Ju-On. In this video, I'll be going over the 2009 horror film Ju-On: Black Ghost, along with Ju-On: White Ghost and the Wii video game title Ju-On: The Grudge. Black Ghost was released in 2009 as part of the 10th anniversary of Ju-On. Both films tell the story of a different curse, separate from the already established Saeki curse from the main films. I'll be going over the events that take place throughout the film, explaining the ending and how it connects to Ju-On: White Ghost. My friends, not only do I worry about protecting myself from deadly curses, but I also worry about protecting my online data. Thankfully, our sponsor NordVPN has just the solution. In this modern age of technology, your online information is extremely vulnerable. NordVPN significantly enhances your online security and privacy by masking your information from third parties and even your own service provider. Browse the internet from your desktop or phone with the peace of mind that your information is being protected. Best of all, especially for movie lovers like myself, NordVPN allows you to access region-restricted content, meaning you'll be able to stream your favorite movies and TV shows that you normally would not be able to from your own region. Click the link in the description down below or go to nordvpn.com/horrormine and use promo code HORRORMINE to get a huge discount off a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month absolutely free. Thank you so much to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. But without further ado, sit back and relax and join me as we explore the birth of a new curse, or rather lack of birth, in Ju-On: Black Ghost. Our movie begins on a dark, rainy day at school. Alone in a classroom, a young girl named Fuki falls to the ground and begins to shake violently. She seemingly falls into a trance and begins making the infamous Ju-On death rattle. We are told that when someone dies in the grip of a powerful rage, a curse is born. It gathers where the dead person lived and becomes a stain upon that place. Those who encounter it die and a new curse is born. I've gone over this so many times now that I'm starting to feel cursed myself. During the opening credits, a news report details the gruesome murder of Yoshiyuki Matsuoka, his wife Mariko, and their son Takashi in their home. Sometime later, we see a boy named Tetsuya standing in front of the now undoubtedly cursed Matsuoka house. Speaking of Tetsuya, the first chapter is titled after him, so don't get emotionally attached to his character. One day, he walks past his neighbor named Yuko, who seems devoid of any emotion and doesn't acknowledge him. That night, he hears Yuko moaning in her apartment, followed by loud banging that shakes the entire room. The tragic part, poor Tetsuya has a crush on Yuko. The following day, he tells his friend Ryuta and Mutsumi about the strange noises. They tease Tetsuya about his crush on Yuko and joke that she might be the one who killed the Matsuoka family. He once again comes across Yuko, whose apartment door opens on its own. Tetsuya is suddenly grabbed by a ghostly black hand and dragged inside. Well, at least he's in the cursed zone and not the friend zone. In Tetsuya's apartment, Ryuta and Mutsumi hear the loud banging sound coming from Yuko's apartment. The next chapter follows Yuko sometime before the events of the previous chapter. Yuko is a nurse at a hospital taking care of Fuki, the young girl from the classroom in the earlier scene. Fuki doesn't know why she is in the hospital, but thinks that she is going to die soon. Yuko begins noticing strange things occurring around Fuki. She hears the death rattle coming from inside of her room and sees something on her stomach that terrifies her. That night, we hear the loud banging noise inside of her room, which causes Yuko to make the moaning sounds Tetsuya was hearing. The next day, she goes to check on Fuki and sees an unknown entity standing underneath a bedsheet. The entity under the sheet is making the same croaking noises and crawling on the floor, very similar to Kayako Saeki. At this point, the entity possessed Yuko and followed her home, which is when Tetsuya came into contact with her in the apartment. When he calls out her name, the entity exits her body, which is why she acknowledges him, seemingly surprised. The Black Ghost kills Tetsuya by repeatedly banging his head head on the wall and kills Yuko off screen. This was the banging sound heard by both Tetsuya and Yuko, which was a prediction of their deaths. This is also a reference to Tomoka and Nori's deaths from Ju-on: The Grudge 2. In the next chapter, we see a woman named Ayano taking a taxi ride home with her creepy boss, Yokota. After getting dropped off, she feels a strange presence following her in the street. She drops her cell phone and sees the black ghost directly behind her. The way Ayano looked upside down was exactly how Kayako creepily looked at Kyoko in Ju-on: The Curse. The next chapter is titled Fuki and follows the young girl after she collapsed in the classroom. She is taken home by her mother Kiwako, and we learn that her father is Yokota, Ayano's creepy boss. Her parents are separated, and while the two argue, Fuki begins screaming like a lamb getting tortured. She then grabs her father's right hand and eerily says that he is going to kill a woman with it. At the hospital, the doctor says that Fuki is displaying psychological behavior associated with a stressful family environment. She is placed under a state of hypnosis and reacts negatively to the treatment. The doctor reveals that Fuki has a systema inside of her body that is the physical remnant of her unborn twin. Fuki absorbed her twin sister inside of their mother's stomach, and she has been growing inside of her ever since. Gabriel? The next chapter follows Yokota, who goes looking for Ayano, who didn't show up to work. He encounters a strange man named Yoshio looking for something named Little Mar. He is referring to the Saeki family black cat named Mar. While looking for Mar in the street, he comes across Toshio Saeki. Yoshio is portrayed by actor Ryota Matsushima, who would go on to portray Keiichi in Netflix's Ju-on Origins. Yokota finds Ayano inside of her apartment, who at this point is possessed by the black ghost.
I
can't let you get close.
Just when he thinks he is about to get some, Ayano does a complete heel turn and begins choking him. She grabs his right hand and says that he is going to kill a woman with his hand before choking him unconscious. He wakes up to find Ayano dead in her bed with his belt wrapped around her neck. We never see him actually kill her, but it is heavily implied that he is responsible. He inked on the belt around her neck with his right hand, just as the black ghost predicted. She pretty much framed him, so not much of a prediction there. He frantically buries Ayano's body in the woods, who begins emitting the death rattle. In the next chapter titled Mariko, Kiwako seeks out the help of her spiritually sensitive sister named, you guessed it, Mariko. As she approaches Fuki's hospital room, Mariko feels a strong evil presence and says she cannot see Fuki today. Mariko goes home to pray and places several ofudas around her house. She is warding her home to protect her and her family from evil spirits. Back in the hospital, Mariko performs a ritual to exorcise the evil spirit from Fuki's body. The evil twin's face emerges from inside of her stomach and reminded me of Voldemort's reveal in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. She pokes the evil twin's forehead, which causes it to retreat back into Fuki's stomach. She wipes a single drop of blood off her stomach, seemingly exorcising the evil spirit from her body. Mariko believes that the cursed spirit of the unborn child was living inside of Fuki all along. She tells Kiwako that she must hold the proper rites for the unborn child. This will put the spirit to rest and allow her to move on. That night, Mariko receives an eerie phone call from Fuki. Fuki shows up at the front door and begins banging on it. Mariko turns around and sees Fuki's white spirit standing right behind her. As Fuki breaks through the front door, Mariko realizes that the spirit of the evil twin tricked her during the ritual. The evil twin switched places with Fuki, which caused her to be cast out from her own body instead. This is why we now see the white ghost of Fuki as opposed to the black ghost of the evil twin that we've seen throughout the film. The evil twin finally has a body of her own, and she ain't messing around. The evil spirit then proceeds to brutally murder Mariko's son and husband inside of the home. She targeted Mariko as revenge for trying to exorcise her spirit from Fuki. The brutal murder of Mariko and her family creates a new curse, which is explored further in Ju-on White Ghost. In the final chapter titled Kiwako, Fuki's body is back inside of the hospital. However, Fuki's spirit is still cast out of her body, which is now inhabited by the spirit of her evil twin. Kiwako is visited briefly by Mariko's spirit, who apologizes to her sister for failing to stop the evil twin. Kiwako realizes that the evil spirit now has a hold of Fuki's physical body. She knows that the twin hates her and holds a grudge over having never been born. Kiwako decides to end it all by jumping off the hospital with Fuki's body. However, this only causes the evil spirit to be released into the world, essentially creating the Black Ghost seen throughout the film. Chronologically, this is the Black Ghost's first appearance, as the evil twin had only been tormenting Fuki from within up to this point. That night, the police discover the dead bodies of Mariko and her family inside their home. Ayano and Yokota drive past the crime scene in their taxi, unaware of what's taken place. Ayano later encounters and becomes possessed by the Black Ghost. The Black Ghost also possesses Fuki's father Yokota and makes him kill Ayano. In the final chronological event of the film, Black Ghost takes possession of Yuko and eventually kills her along with Tetsuya. So what exactly was this curse truly about? The Ju-on was the Black Ghost's grudge from the twin having never been born. It quite literally grew inside of Fuki and became a stain upon her body. In the end, the evil twin's grudge consumed everyone that Fuki loved and cared for, give or take a couple of bystanders along the way. The only way to end the curse was to hold the proper rites for the unborn twin. This would have allowed the twin spirit to move on and end the curse. Although there wasn't any explanation or good reason as to why the Black Ghost produced the Kayako-like death rattle. The only possible explanation I can think of is that the evil twin was trying to speak, but it came out as a croak because she hadn't developed a vocal cord. The only times the twin did manage to speak was when she possessed Fuki and Ayano. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Ju-on Black Ghost. My friends, this was a pretty decent spin-off with an interesting take on the Ju-on curse. However, just like its counterpart Ju-on White Ghost, the absence of Takashi Shimizu was definitely noticeable. Attempting to replace Kayako as the main villain was a huge risk that ultimately didn't pay off. The film just wasn't scary enough and didn't offer anything of substance to the overall Ju-on universe. Aside from a questionable cameo by Toshio Saeki, the film sadly becomes another generic ghost story. But, as always, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you all for tuning in, and I cannot wait to see y'all right back here in the Horror Mine. Y'all stick around.